afternoon. I'm Sheriff Kosciusko with the Kosciusko County Sheriff's Department. We are having this news conference to get out some information that you'll have an opportunity to talk to the lead investigator today. On Monday, this past Monday around 7:30, we got a call of a body in a ditch on 300 North. At that time, road units went there. He was unresponsive at that time, and them and first responders tried to do CPR on the subject. As you already know, and he passed away then when EMS took him to KCH. From that point on, our detectives, our drug task force, our road officers have been working nonstop for 48 straight hours. They did, being anywhere from Elkhart to back to Warsaw, back and forth. It shows the kind of dedication I think that they have, the officers of this county. We're very fortunate to be able to work at that long hours to get some resolve to this, to make an arrest in this. Also, I want to thank Winona Lake and Warsaw PD. They assisted us at the scene, the EMS personnel, Winona Lake Fire Department, Kosciusko County Coroner's Office, and which you will have a chance to this afternoon to also go ahead and talk to our coroner, Tony Cirillo. And then also, we have a special thanks to Elkhart PD, their investigators, their drug task force went with us, spent almost 2 days straight with our investigators up there in Elkhart, where we had seen that we needed to get evidence and also question some people, interrogate some people, and they helped us greatly doing that. At this time, I think it's now to turn it over to our lead investigator, which was Lieutenant Todd Sauter. He'll come up here and answer the questions that you may have about the case. And then after that, we also have our coroner, Tony Cirillo, to also, if you have some other questions, to ask him. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming in today. I've got some prepared notes, but I may just open up the floor for any questions that you have. If there's something I can answer, I will do my best to answer those questions.
Can we start just with your name, spelling, please?
Todd, T-O-D-D, Sauter, S-A-U-T-T-E-R.
Thank you.
Do you guys know why the individuals were in Warsaw? They're not living in Warsaw, so why were they here?
It's our understanding that the suspect in this case had acquaintances or friends here in the city of Warsaw.
Do you know if this is gang related?
It is unclear at this time what their affiliation is, if it's gang related, and I can't comment whether it is or not.
Do we know if they were related, if they knew each other, friends, anything like that?
We do believe that there is a family connection. The exact connection, I'm not clear, but they are family connected.
Do you know a motive at this point? Do you know why?
I'm not going to speculate on a motive at this time. We still have some individuals that we are talking to. Currently, as we speak, we've got detectives doing further investigation right now and further interviews to try to determine a motive. We have some ideas, but I'm not going to speculate until we have evidence.
How did you end up in Elkhart?
We received a call Wednesday morning. We were going on our way to Elkhart to on Tuesday morning to try to make contact with some family, and we received information that friends and family had found some evidence that they believed would connect our suspect to this crime. So we were going to Elkhart anyway, and that just expedited our process.
Can you speculate? Can you tell us what that evidence was?
There was a shirt that was found in a residence that we believe our defendant was wearing or had in his possession that had blood evidence on that, and the family felt that it could be connected to this crime.
Are there multiple people involved? Do you still have people of interest?
Right now, we're pretty confident that we have our main suspect in custody.
So Monday at 7:30, the body was found. Do we have any idea when the incident happened?
It would have happened probably shortly before we got the original call.
How were you guys notified of the body?
A witness in the area observed the body of our victim and called 911 to report it.
Has the suspect made any statements to you?
The only statements that the suspect has made was that he was in the Warsaw area the night of the incident and that he was in a vehicle that did belong to our victim.
Do you know if the stabbing occurred in Warsaw or if it was before and dumped him out of the car? Or?
I'm confident that happened at the scene where we found the body.
Is there anything, like any businesses, any little shops around that area, or is it just like an isolated kind of?
It's an isolated county road west of State Road 15.
The original witness did help you guys out a little bit, correct?
Gave us a vehicle description of a vehicle that he saw in the area. At the time, we weren't clear what connection that vehicle had to the crime, but he did give us a vehicle description that he did observe.
Is the suspect also from Elkhart?
His address that we found was Harvey, Illinois, and that's the address that he provided.
In the probable cause you guys mentioned, the knife that was found, has that been linked as the murder weapon?
It matches the description of other kitchen utensils and cutlery that was at a residence in Elkhart.
So we're talking about like a kitchen knife, not a pocket knife?
Correct, the kitchen
Okay,
knife.
thank you.
Any information about the area that they were, like, why would they be out there? Just a county road? I mean,
Yes, that it was just a county road not far from the friend or acquaintance that our suspect had in Warsaw.
so they could have been leaving that residence.
Coming or going, yes.
You may have answered this question already, but do we have a motive?
No, we do not.
The family has been responsive, giving you guys any information that they have.
The family has been very cooperative, very instrumental in this case. If it wouldn't have been for the family's cooperation and willingness to help us, this case would be very difficult.
You mentioned the suspect has a listed address as Harvey, Illinois. The probable cause statement indicated that he may have been living with the defendant at some time, or living with the victim at some time with the victim's sister. Do you know?
I believe that he came here, had been staying in the Elkhart area for several weeks, visiting, staying here for whatnot.
Thank you.
When there's a stabbing, is this normally, you know, a thought-out crime, or is this just kind of a crime of passion? I mean, what do you guys normally encounter?
Well, normally, stabbings are spur of the moment. They're not well thought out.
Do you usually see stabbings with the number of stab wounds found in this case? I think the number was 63.
63 is what we were told by the coroner's office.
Is that normal? What does that indicate of the crime?
In my 20-plus years of law enforcement, that's probably the most I've ever seen.
Where did you guys end up picking up the suspect again?
In Elkhart.
No.
I actually just returned from the scene where the body was found, and upon first glance, it is a bit of a remote location, but just behind the tree line, there is a neighborhood. Do you think the suspect kind of panicked and just left the body there, or what do you think his thought process was in choosing that spot?
Honestly, I believe that he wasn't familiar with the area and didn't know what the surroundings were, and that's just where they stopped. The crime was committed, and that's where he left the body.
So he was stabbed in that location?
We believe so.
There were several concerns about people not being notified of the exact occurrences, if the suspect was caught right away. Was there any concern for public safety? I know it's near a school, but it was fall break. Were you guys pretty confident that it was just a one-off occurrence?
We didn't really have any reason to believe otherwise. I mean, we had crime scene at that location. We had a possible vehicle description. As soon as we got the vehicle description, how vague it was, we immediately sent officers out to the surrounding areas, neighborhoods, apartment complexes in the area to try to locate that vehicle. We did notify businesses and the school in the area immediately that night. Even though it was after hours, we did contact school officials so that they were aware of it.
Now, you talked a little bit about this in bit and pieces, but can you just explain what weapon was used in this stabbing one more time for us?
It was a kitchen knife.
You, excuse me, I know it was raining that night, and I'm sure the crime scene was pretty difficult to, it was probably hard to find a lot of evidence, but and you found the car, correct? That both people were in?
We have found the car, and we do have it.
Do you believe that it happened inside the car or outside?
We believe it happened in the car.
And the car was registered to the victim, correct?
The victim's family.
You say kitchen knife, what type of kitchen knife?
This day, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't recall the actual length of it, but it was probably a 6 or 8 inch blade, cutlery type knife, kitchen knife.
So he was driving with that knife?
The knife, we're assuming it was in the vehicle or someone had the knife. We don't know at this point.
Were there any other weapons in the vehicle?
Not that we've located,
And was it just those two men in the vehicle?
as far as we know at this point.
What's the next step in the process of charging this man?
He has an initial hearing sometime this afternoon, I was told. From then, he will be formally charged and advised of what the charges that he is facing, and then the next step would just be the court process.
And do you have any idea exactly what those charges are?
At this time, he's being charged with murder.
Has the family of the victim made any comments about the suspect?
Other than that they know him.
Do you know if the suspect has a criminal history prior to this?
I'm not going to comment on his background.
When was the last homicide investigation you guys had? Do you know?
Earlier this year, I do believe, or late last year. Okay, if there's no further questions, I too would like to thank the Elkhart City Police Department and their staff. They've opened the doors to us, and if it wouldn't have been for their help and guidance on the locations around the city of Elkhart, we'd have been lost. And so we'd like to thank them personally too for all their assistance in this case.
One last question. So from the moment of the crime to when the suspect was apprehended, do you know how long that was?
It was less than 48 hours. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Tony Cirillo, Kosciusko County Coroner. I'll be glad to answer any questions I can within reason on this case. Last name is spelled Cirillo.
That was Tony, correct?
Correct.
It's already been mentioned there were 63 stab wounds. How do you determine 63 individual stab wounds?
It takes a lot of time at autopsy to do that. But the pathologist we had was really good, and between the pathologist, the crime scene technician, myself, we're able to identify, measure, and photograph and document every one of those stab wounds. Those are stab wounds that actually broke the skin and got down into the subdural area of the muscle and the fatty tissue.
Why would somebody need to stab somebody 63 times?
It's pretty violent. In the last, since 2014 till current, we've had 7 homicides in this county, including this one. This was the most violent of injuries that I've seen of any of those that I've been involved with. But generally, something was mentioned earlier about crime of passion with stab wounds. Usually stab wounds are, especially when you get this many, are more personal than they are random things. So, it tells us that the attack probably was some type of a personal nature, even though I'm not privy to what the suspect has told the officers or what their motives are, but to have that many, I mean, it says something there.
Similar question to that Detective Strowder offered. In your time as a coroner, and your time with the coroner's office, and your time as a police chief, have you ever seen this many stab wounds or something this violent?
No, I haven't. I haven't. I mean, honestly, stab wounds in this county, the most I've ever seen was one.
Now, we're talking all over the body. Was there a specific part of the body that had like more?
The primary target region was the chest and stomach and flank area on the front, some on the back and some on the back of the neck, but the majority of them were in the front torso area.
Was it all on one side or the other because they were
No,
not calling?
both sides.
Was there one specific wound that caused the death, or was it just a combination of all the wounds?
It was a combination of the wounds which caused bleeding, and you're going to bleed out, and there was also some internal organs that were damaged that would have led to the death that right now we're not ready to disclose.
Do you believe this was planned, or do you believe it was a spur-of-the-moment thing out of fear?
That's a police question and not a coroner question, so I can't answer that for you.
You said you've never experienced anything like this in your years of work. Was it particularly tough for you? I know this boy, he was a young man. Was that tough for you?
Every case is tough. When you deal with young people, it's even tougher. I mean, this year's been a particularly bad year in this county for young people. We've had a 16-year-old, two 17-year-olds killed in automobile crashes, had two other 13-year-olds die that I've had to deal with, and now this. So, they're all tough because there's families that lost a loved one. And, why I do my job and do my investigation, the part that I seem to be the most passionate about is working with the families to try to get some kind of closure and get their loved one where they need to be. And, that's what I did all the next night once we were able to identify him, was work with the family. Other questions for me? Thank you very much for your time.